Yeah, right.
Despite it being inside the cave and having that sign above it, it has nothing to do with the cave or Jesse James. It's just a moonshining shack that we found floating in the river during a flood in the 50s, which we picked up, rebuilt, and put right there to give the place a bit more Ozark atmosphere. And also to hopefully distract people, so they don't run aside while we're taking their tickets on busier days. Sometimes it works, normally it doesn't. Over here is where those group of kids are going to be spending their time at. We have a classroom over here. Feel in real time that this ballroom is used. That's what this area is called. And it's not just because of the disco ball, but because back when the cave first opened, this is where we used to hold all sorts of square dances, weddings, and other types of receptions.
Oh, cool.
But people kept wandering off. They weren't supposed to, so we had to stop doing that. And we also normally have a couple of rules before we wander off in the cave, but really the most important rule is please do not touch the cave or any formations found in it. Other than that, free to continue moving along. What brought you down here today?
Life.
Valid? Just traveling around or?
Yep. Taking a tour of the country. Never been to Missouri before.
There's not that much to do at this time of the year. It's mainly during the summertime. We got a lot of rivers and other camping grounds. Maybe still camp during the fall, of course. It's getting a bit cold though.
I like the cold.
Now the object right over here, this is called a pendulum.
Am I allowed to be in this spot?
I don't care.
Okay, cool.
This is called a pendulum. It's a replica of Foucault's free swinging pendulum, and its sole purpose is to measure the Earth's rotation. How it does so is that it'll swing back and forth like it is here. Then it'll go the opposite side to side. It'll continue doing this in a 24-hour time period following the rotational axis of the Earth. Now, the one here is a bit unique for a couple of reasons. Out of all the ones built in the world, this one's the only one underground. This one was also made by a group of high school students in the 1950s as a science fair project. And because the one here was made by a group of high school students, it has a few flaws. One of the flaws is up here at the top. The original hitching was made out of cast iron. Because of the cave's moisture and humidity, iron started to rust. Eventually it fell off, the pendulum came with it. The second thing is the weight of the ball. The ball here is supposed to weigh 1,000 pounds and also be made out of lead. This one here weighs 98, and it's also made out of stainless steel. So out of all the ones built in the world, we don't just have the only one built underground, we also have the only one that doesn't work. Yep.
Cool.
Just a big old useless ball. I believe the nearest one of these that actually works is located at the Science Center in St. Louis. Much larger and also has pins on the ground so it can actually follow its axis. The next room we're heading on over to is what we call our division room because it separates the upper parts from the lower parts of the cave. If you were to take a cave tour in 1930 though, close to when the cave first opened, over here's where your tour would have ended. Because they did not know about the upper or the lower parts of the cave back then.
Interesting.
The reason why they did not know about the upper sections is because the big old hole didn't exist, except for a small crack in the right corner. For the lower levels, the ceiling down here went down to the modern day handrails, and there was also a body of water blocking off that direction. Until 1936, the upper parts were discovered by the first owner of the cave, Lester Dill. He came down here one day, noticed a little crack in the corner, so he climbed up to the crack, yelled inside of it till he found his echo back, and knowing a lot about caves, knew if he got his echo back, he knew there had to be more up there. So he grabbed a stick of dynamite, lit it, chucked it up there, and ran for his life. Because that's what you did back then. With the dynamite came the big old hole. That's whenever he discovered the upper levels and extended the tours up to there. 1941, Missouri suffered one of its worst droughts in history. And with that drought, all the water in the lower levels decreased, and it made an opening. With the opening came a cool breeze. 2 tour guides noticed the breeze, did not know what to do about it, so they called Lester Dill down here. And Lester Dill, being the brave and adventurous man he was, he shoved the 2 tour guides into the dark to wander around till they came upon a dry patch of land and several artifacts believed to be left by Frank and Jesse James. But since we're all done here, just going to come over here, make a phone call, and we'll head on down.
All right.
Going down. And you're just going to head down over on this side over here. I have to stick on this side because there's a light switch I need to hit.
Sounds good.
And do you know who Jesse James is or no?
You know, he sounds like an outlaw.
You could be right. Yep, one of the most notorious outlaws to ever live.
For real.
Very famous. Yep, just gonna step over it. They first got their recognition by being a part of a guerrilla warfighting group that was hired by the Civil War. They went and did several tasks for the Civil War. And then they drove to crime a few years afterwards and believed to be they committed the first train robbery. Among many other robberies, of course. But yeah, there's also not a lot of memorabilia for him, or artifacts, I would say. A single photo that was found of Jesse James, a portrait, found over at a garage sale, just, I guess, on old Route 66 or something like that. Person bought it for 20 bucks, maybe even less. Ended up being an authentic photo, and it sold for several millions of dollars.
More money than I'll ever see.
The what?
That's more money than I'll ever see.
Now the area here is the place where the 2 tour guides found themselves on, where the artifacts were believed to be left by Frank and Jesse James. Most of the artifacts were taken away for preservation reasons, but we have a few to show today. We have 2 old gun barrels, a lantern used to explore the cave, and most importantly, the strong box here, that at one point contained over 2,000 silver and gold coins. The strong box also dates back to a train robbery in Gatsville, Missouri. 1874 is when that happened. Also in 1874 is when the local sheriff here got a report saying Frank and Jesse were down this back part of the cave. The sheriff made his way to the entrance, stayed there for days and nights in the potential hope to starve the gang out of hiding. But after waiting, came down guns blazing, only to find the gang's horses stumbling around the dark. The reason why is because it's believed to be told Frank and Jesse were back in the division room. Then they heard the sheriff make his way to the entrance. So they ditched the horses, grabbed their belongings, dove underneath the water, swam to the patch of land in the amble-shaped rock, spread out their artifacts and took what they could. Then they made their adventurous escape out to our underground river below. Now the river over here continues on for a quarter mile more and eggs out to the Meramec, but if you were to take the same pathway today, you would not reach the Meramec River, you'd be trapped underneath the parking lot. So it's best not to go down that way. But whenever you're done looking at Loot Rock, you can head on down whenever you feel like.
Never seen a more reflective water than that.
It is crystal clear water. Probably the clearest water you'll ever see.
Probably.
Once we get close,
Looks like mercury.
I'll shine my light on it. So right here.
Yep.
And down over there is where they made their escape. You can tell by the silhouettes.
Yep. Yep. That is cool. That is cool.
Been in several other caves, or is this the first one?
The only one I've ever been to is Howe Caverns,
Where's that at?
upstate New York.
Okay. Small?
It wasn't actually that small. I don't really remember though. I was like a kid. Near Cooperstown,
Okay.
in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Is not that big in the baseball, but yeah, whatever.
Baseball used to be my favorite sport growing up. Love to play it, hate to watch it.
I can agree with that.
It's so boring to watch.
Yep.
I remember my parents went and took me over to the Busch Stadium to go watch the Cardinals, and I hated it. I don't really remember. I'm just going based on what they told me, but I remember that I thought I was being taken there to go play baseball. I guess.
You wanted to play with the big leagues.
Yeah. My whole family thought I was going to go play baseball. So right here, we're just going to be waiting until this group passes on. One of these occasions was in 1974. United Artists came down here to film a Sawyer film right over here. Now, if you were to watch the movie, during the time of the movie, you'd be seeing Tom and Becky being chased by Engine Joe the bad guy overneath the whole valley here. They tried making their escape from Engine Joe on top of the mountain way, but Joe still follows. Joe and Tom get into a bit of a scuffle up in the top. Joe gets punched, lost his footing, trips and falls the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet into the raging rivers below, which beholds the magic of Hollywood.
So they filmed the whole Tom Sawyer movie here?
Just that snippet.
Just that snippet.
And right over there, that barrel-shaped hole, that was dug out so Engine Joe could appear chest deep in the water and appear like he's drowning. Because Engine Joe's 6 foot plus, water here's not that deep. And then while to watch the two-part episode, you be seeing two boys out on the river rafting, getting eaten by mosquitoes, but they see an entrance in the cave. They go inside trying to seek shelter. They then get trapped. The cave's water starts to magically rise. But Lassie on the surface senses something's wrong, runs down to the cave, finds the two boys trapped in the cave's water rising, runs back out of the cave to go find help. Long story short, Lassie saves the day.
So how many movies have they filmed in here?
Just those. A episode of a TV show, I believe. It was Art Linkletter's People Are Funny is what the show is called.
I don't
really knows about it. But essentially, over in the division room, there was that little room there with the cave ceiling above it. And that area is called the honeymoon room because during that episode of Art Linkletter's show is that there was a newlywed couple among the crowd, and for whatever reason, they got tasked to try and find a little key that was in that part of the cave. And while they're searching for that key, they have to be dressed as caveman and cavewoman and stay in that little part of the cave. And then when tour groups would come on through, they would get up, run around, and beat each other with foam bats.
Interesting.
And they stayed there for a couple of weeks, I believe. Never found the key, and that's because they didn't know that it was around Lester Dill's neck. But apparently they were such good sports about it that Lester Dill gave them a large sum of cash and then either a weekend trip or a 2-weekend trip to the Bahamas for their actual honeymoon. So they got compensated. And over here, it might get a little low in certain cases, so you might have to duck. But if you're my height, you'll be fine.
Well, they did say not to touch the formations. But accidents happen.
Yeah. Say not to, but if your head races it, that's something different. Really, it's just don't reach over and try and break them off. That's when we have problems.
Never.
thing that people don't really know about is that all caves in the state of Missouri are protected by the state, even if they're privately owned like this one. So damaging the cave is actually a federal offense.
Makes sense to me.
We used to have a big problem with people
This is a
breaking stuff
natural
off.
wonder. It's like Mount Rushmore in the Grand Canyon.
It's very old and unique among caves as well. They got a lot of variety. For instance, right over here is where you're going to see all the formations.
Ah, some crystals here.
The stalactites and stalagmites. We actually do have some crystals in the cave, but very kind of scarce. You have to really look in the walls to try and find them.
This is definitely way better than Howe Caverns.
Yeah, this cave is classified as a living, breathing cave system, so all these formations, for the most part, they're still actively growing. Still an active part of the cave. And from here, just feel free to wander around wherever you feel like, and whenever you're done and ready, we'll head on out and go to the other ones.
Definitely a wonder. I'm sure you've seen this multiple times already.
I've had my share. And you know how long it takes for these to grow, or
50 to 100
a way
years.
to put into perspective is that this whole pathway over here that we just took was all excavated out in 1948, and these little nubs is what's formed since then.
So you're talking about man excavation or natural?
Men.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to chop off a lot of them. And that was done back in 1948 before a lot of those protection laws existed. Back in the day we used to throw dynamite around.
The gold rush.
You don't want to experience that.
I do.
Alright. So if you truly want to experience it, I recommend just turning off your device because
All right.
this is not where the cave actually ends. Down behind you, the cave continues on for an additional 16 miles.
Unused dynamite?
Not unused dynamite, but an unused, yeah, so over here, this is what the drill marks look like. And that's one that's unused. As you can see over here.
Hopefully don't explode. That's probably long been extinguished or
Oh,
whatever.
absolutely. There's no dynamite in there. That's just like what they would do is they would drill an attachment there. And as I said, there's some little crystal right here. What the job consists of during this time of year is just sitting around waiting for customers, and if there's none, we just lays around.
Well, they do say being a security guard is the easiest job.
Yeah.
For the most part anyway, until like something happens.
Mm-hmm. The one case where something in like emergency actually happens.
You know?
Well, you say that because I have a friend that's actually switching professions. He went over to trade school and became a welder and all that. And beforehand he was a tour guide, but he switched to security. And seems to enjoy security a lot, so he's just going to try and make that his career.
Sometimes being bored is not the best though.
No. But all he really did was just sleep during, because he had the night shift. He just slept and made sure everyone's radios were down. Almost all of the jobs here are very lax. I would very much describe working here as a retirement job. More history based than just going through the expansive open area.
All right. Very enjoyable.
Up we go. Gotta get your exercise every day.
Yep.
Slice it of climb. Alright, just gonna stop right here. This is the cave's largest stalagmite, one of the world's largest stalagmites, which we call Onyx Mountain. It grew so tall it actually blocked off its water supply at the top, making this area so dry and deserted looking. This is the inactive side. We have an active side up over here. It looks completely different than this spot, with its own active water supply going down through it. Also, if you were curious about the statistics, it's 28 feet tall, 500 feet in circumference, and it's also been estimated to be 33 million years old. Whenever they went and discovered this big old rock, it was marked the 4th largest stalagmite in the world.
So it's as old as the
Today, it's not even
dinosaurs.
the top 10. What's up?
It's as old as the dinosaurs.
Basically. But now we're all done looking at the deserted side. Get ready to clean it. They do that like every half a year.
Got to maintain the caves.
The amount of people come through.
Just breathing in here probably creates erosion or something.
Not as much as you would think, but yeah. All of our stuff on our shoes, stepping on through, and all that other stuff.
That too, yeah.
And then we also have people that just won't listen to instructions. The two biggest ones that people don't listen to is don't touch the cave and don't eat and drink.
I mean, I got a water bottle in my pocket, but I'm not drinking.
That's fine, I don't care if it's a water bottle. Technically speaking, the rule is that no food and drink is allowed, but if it's a water bottle, I don't care because the water's already inside the cave, just don't lose it.
So it's kind of acidic, so yeah, some of those monster energies.
Head on, this is also called our echo room. You can probably check. And same as before, whenever you're done and ready here, we'll just head on over to the next spot.
Is that the natural colors from like fungi
It
or?
is not. It is from the lights.
Interesting.
Natural because with the amount of lights that we have on during the tours, and with how humid and wet the cave is, it actually does grow algae.
So the light green is natural, or is that a light?
Not that specific green, but around the lights you might see some green and vegetation that would just be algae growing.
Interesting.
That's part of the reason why we turn the lights off every time we're done. Then the water collects over these little shelves and then paces over the walkway and goes into our crystal lake behind you. But over here, where it's smooth on the walkway, you can't touch that. It's another similar spot to where it's just calcifying the walkway like it was in the lower levels. It's trying to reclaim itself. Yeah, so you might want to like get more so over in this area to actually get the texture part.
Here. Yeah. Clean.
And then I'm going to talk about the room before we get up there.
Luckily, I got my non-slip shoes, but I don't know how good they'll work here.
Oh, it should be fine. People do it in flip-flops all the time. That's not recommended, but it's whatever you feel safe in. So the area up there is called the wine room. It's called this for a couple of non-alcoholic reasons. The main reason is because of the botryoid formations up here. Their formations only form completely submerged underwater, so they're quite rare. They also resemble little grapes in a vine, which of course is used to make wine. The other reason is because of all the whining that is normally heard when people find out about the 58 steep and slick steps that it takes to get up there.
58, so that's like going up a building with like maybe 5 floors or 6 floors, something like that.
It's a pretty steep climb, and there are also steep stairs.
I'm in pretty good shape.
Alright, so if you're wanting to go up them, when the lights over here are turned on, down you go.
All right. 58, huh? Jesus. That wasn't so bad.
Long it is, and we do tell people how long the tour is, and the walkway is about as good as you can get in a cave.
First world problems.
Might be people complain extra grip, and they're made out of tires. Or tires? I'm like, yep.
Well, does it have the grooves from the tires at the bottom, or?
Yep.
Interesting.
Those are those botryoids, which are only formed submerged underwater. So what that means is that this room here was separately closed off, and it was full of just water. Probably way back when the cave first was being made. And the different shells on the walls, that indicates the different levels of water that was over time.
See the calcium deposits? That's what that crystal-like stuff looking is?
Pretty much, yeah. That's the main mineral used in all the formations. That would be that pure white right over there.
And those like geode-looking growths.
Yep, these are the botryoids.
Right.
So right here, you're just gonna find a seat wherever you feel like. And then when you're seated, I shall begin our light show here. All right, welcome to our theater room. Now we call it this because of the big curtain-like formation here, which assists us in having the world's oldest stage. This formation is 70 feet tall, 50 feet wide, and 35 feet thick at its thickest point. It has also been estimated to be 70 million years old. Over here, we have the world's oldest backstage, and then our natural curtains parting. Down below, it even comes with a 12-foot sunken orchestral pit, complete with a little bit of green sludge. Sorry the band cannot make it today. Up on the top, we have our nosebleed sections for the more crowded summer days and nights. And we thought, why not set that all with a stalactite chandelier right over there. And now, during this time, it is going to be your best opportunity to take any photos and videos of our stage curtain, and then shortly enough, our light show should begin. And from here on, it's all automated, so light show starts when it starts. If you have any questions while it's processing, feel free. Alright, looks like it's getting ready to start any second now, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. used to be a bit more hazardous.